Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're zooming in and focusing in on an important topic, and that has to do with how to identify the red flags, the setting up in the love bombing stage, when you're not really kind of aware of how the commands, the emotional manipulation, the facade and persona management is being navigated by a malignant narcissist or a psychopath. Realize that one of the number one tenets of understanding malignant narcissism as well as psychopathy is their behavior that is focused on persona management or facade management or controlling and manipulation of your perceptions or your assessments of them. In other words, the malignant narcissist as well as the psychopath will be giving people, those who they are targeting as supply, oftentimes it's a number of people in their environment, they will be giving them commands as to how to perceive them. And this can be very much under the radar or very subtle. They will tell you, they will talk about themselves almost in a third person sort of manner. And they will oftentimes ingratiate themselves or engage in sort of a self-indulging flattery. And so they will be giving you instructions or commands as to how to perceive them. So it takes your gaze, it takes your awareness, it takes your intuition, it takes your instinct off of the focus onto what you should be tuning into and really sort of making an assessment of your involvement with this person. Because as we discuss, a malignant narcissist as well as a psychopath is indulging and engaging in emotional manipulation, social engineering. They are concealing their true identity. They are covering up their true intention with those people who they are surrounding themselves with. So, for example, what is an example of, and I know a lot of viewers, they want examples of exactly what this is. A malignant narcissist as well as a psychopath will give you instructions as how to view themselves, and oftentimes in a self-ingratiating or a self-flattery sort of dynamic. In other words, the psychopath might say, even for a male, they'll say, wow, I have very long eyelashes, or I have a very large chest, or I wear this and this type of clothes. They'll indulge in and then they'll be looking in the mirror and they'll be giving you commands with which they want you to direct your physical attention. And oftentimes this is also in line with them violating your boundaries or getting you really what we call into a gaslighting or brainwashing technique. In other words, where they're trying to get your attention onto a very specific area of them in order to be really serve as a distraction. They will also really give you instruction as how to perceive things, not only them, but other people's behavior. And the issue of damage is that it causes a disconnect between what you're naturally tuning into and resonating with versus what they are telling you to tune in and resonate with, oftentimes which is not in your best interest to be focusing on this. In other words, it'll be engaged in, look at the way so-and-so does this, how that they sit, how that they run, how that they work. They will be oftentimes they will use their focus, and they will basically cause a situation where they want you to follow their focus and their physical eye patterns. They'll give you, and this might sound very strange if you have not been in a relationship with this sort of manipulative person, but you need to understand the breakdown. You need to understand that it's the issue in the breakdown is that it has caused you to disengage from your focus and your attention on what is important for you. In other words, your own opinion, your own truth, your own passion, your own assessment of the situation. So they'll cause this disconnect And if you have a disconnect between yourself and really sort of your gut instinct, your higher truth, your awareness, and I know that these are very abstract, topics or, discussions, but for you individually, I think you'll know what that means. In other words, if you're focusing on taking care of people or taking care of the family or taking care of your work, making an assessment of what is right or wrong, an ethical behavior, something that you should be focusing your attention on for your professional development. They will try to get this askew. They will try to, in a very distracting manner, get you to focus on something that is really distractory in nature. It's almost akin to, look at this in this website, that is, basically going to absorb a lot of your attention, but is not relating to the work at hand or the task at hand. And it gets you off track. It gets you off balance. It gets you thinking in the wrong direction. And one thing you need to understand about life, or really universal law and universal principle, is that which we focus on grows. So if you focus on the distractions will grow. If you focus on your work, then your work will grow. If you focus on your instinct, your gut, your gut instinct, your self-direction, your inner voice, that inner life, that inner calling, then that will grow. If you're disengaged from that and then you're focusing on other people and what they're telling you how to think, feel, or behave in a negative manner versus what you are aligned with and your best purpose at hand, then that will grow. And then that fear will grow. And then the disintegration will follow. The negative messages will follow. The self-doubt will follow. The feeling of being hypervigilant will follow. The suspicion, all that sort of anxiety, and then the anxiety management follows. So as you can see, it has a whole ripple effect in one's life. So another example of what to focus on. The psychopath will weave a connection of meaning in an environment, and they will then also twist and distort the meaning with which you are to be focusing on. And this sounds very elusive and it's very intangible. It's somewhat difficult to describe, but I think it'll help you untangle and basically unensnare yourself from their web of lies, their web of lies, the pathology, the delusion that is part of the brainwashing, which is a very terrorizing, scary position to be in when you're sort of sucked into this emotional vampire. They will do this in order to get you off balance. In other words, to be giving them the attention, to be thinking like them. And as you might understand, your individual responsibility is to know thyself. Whether you were taught this in kindergarten, second grade, age 3, age 14, age 25, your responsibility is to be true to yourself, to follow your heart, and to discover your passion. And the root of education is educare, which means to bring out. So a lot of people oftentimes find that they're on the wrong track, on track, they're off track, they're following someone else's perception and rules for their life rather than their own. So your responsibility is to discover what is meaningful, valuable, and important to you, and really your passion. And so it's really awakening that inner voice, because that is really what's going to save you. It's what's going to energize you. It's going to help you tune into what's important to you. And the psychopath, as well as the malignant narcissist, is adept at getting you off of that passion through distracting messages, through negative messages, through fear-based, through the hormones of stress and anxiety, coupled with, the occasional love, the occasional, reward of, you are this to me, you are that to me, the gifts, etc., which are, keep you hooked, but yet it's combined with oftentimes very distracting messages. And what are some more examples where the thought pattern is off? A psychopath or malignant narcissist might use triangulation. They might use splitting, where they're involving another person in the mix. And they're using this person as leverage. They're using this person as bait. They're using them as sort of a, look at me, paying attention to them and not to you sort of dynamic in order to manipulate you. The goal is that you don't want to get sucked into this triangulation and this tactic, because it truly is a tactic, and it's meant to hurt you. It's meant to manipulate. It's meant to distract and get you feeling less than living by the hormones of stress, fear. So really, when you are able to identify the distraction, identify it now as a distraction. Begin to observe from a higher consciousness awareness and say, okay, now these are the ways that I have seen in my own life how the malignant narcissist or psychopath will be distractory. A psychopath might say, again, they might comment on their facial hair, or their eyelashes are this and this way, or I'm so manly that I need to do this, or I'm so feminine that I need to do this, I'm so girly that I need to do this. Look at the way that I run, it's so manly. Like, they'll make these comments, or look at the way that I run, I'm so girly. They will use these assessments, which are self flattery, and they will do this in order to distract your attention and see that their message, which is a very fine line, is that my thinking patterns are better than yours and are designed to get you sucked in and hooked in to the malignant narcissist or psychopath way of perceiving the world, which is manipulative and which is not attuned to oftentimes, your gut instinct and that which is integrity in your best interest. So they will get, people thinking that they're following along their thought patterns. And I know that this is a very strange assessment to become aware of, but it's very important because it has everything to do with your healing. Realize that, maybe you had become too allured in. You had become, psychologically addicted to the feelings that this person arose in you, their perceptions, their assessment of the world, which made you feel in the beginning a sense of love, charisma, charm, and attraction to this person, but it got you way off base with what is in your best interest, what is your true self, and really the fact that you weren't receiving like in return. That's the real, cycle of, the cycle of a psychological reciprocity, is that when it's functioning, the person is able to give you, the smile back, the genuine acknowledgement back, the genuine listening back, the empathy back. There's a really fine line, and please identify this in your life. See if you can understand where this kind of psychological takeover had begun in your life. See if you can identify some of these specific tactics, traits, and statements that they had made in order to get you distracted or thinking in this malignant pathological pattern that got you stuck there. See if you can then get pulled back, get back on your feet, back within your own healthy boundaries, self-validation, and also back into self-belief and back into your truth and valuing of your own perception, your own values, your own opinions. And furthermore, from that space, then looking forward into your own dreams, exploring your own values, finding that there's so much more that is meant for you in your life purpose than getting sucked into the negative and to the toxic. I mean, there are so many areas of life that you can focus on that will be so much more rewarding and give you the education, the expanded knowledge, whether it's developing your talents, whether it's developing a new language, whether it's learning about another area of the world that is suffering. There's so many third world countries that need help. I mean, you could start a journalism career just by helping, some of the very impoverished areas of the world that are suffering right now. I mean, you could do documentaries. There are so many things that you could explore and open up to that would be more fulfilling and really build up that security versus and thinking on a positive level, a solution-oriented level versus, trying to understand and get sucked into a distraction, which a malignant narcissist and a psychopath is adept at doing. And they will do this for days, weeks, months, and years until they really see that you are truly lost out of your true purpose. And they will basically feel that they have accomplished something great by getting you distracted from your life purpose and your truth. It's a very sorrowful situation. It's peace and harmony with you here today. I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.